This is a game discovery of Voidling Bound, which is a game where you develop creatures through loot and experience, and you actually use the creature in combat, and it's a third-person shooter. So here's your beginner creature. After you gather your loot, you can evolve the creatures, and this system is sort of a branching system where it gives you different options, 1 and 2, and then you choose that option, and then it would further branch for more options, so on and so forth. Pretty cool. Reminds you of probably Spore if you ever played that. The next way you evolve them is through the skill tree. They call it enhancements. And so these are your typical add 5% damage, add range, add different, if each creature will have an ultimate ability and a secondary ability. You see the little flask icon in the upper right hand corner. That's kind of what you gather in order to have enough to buy these different skills. There's also this egg cultivator, which I have no idea what it does, but I'm interested. I'm sure you have to hatch them and, give them the right nourishment to make them hatch. Lastly, you have experience and our different stat points. Pretty straightforward stats. And even if you die in a level, you will get experience and loot, and you come back and you can kind of level up your character. I'm playing on the most challenging difficulty, the Wrangler difficulty. So I did die a couple times, but ultimately your character catches up with your skill, so it balances out gameplay. I gotta say the game loop is pretty fun. You jump in, there are 2 different modes that I experienced. First one is a regular mode where you go through a level. It's a little bit invisible walls, but you have a few options. And then there's this mode, which is the wave mode, where you basically get waves of enemies. I'm not going to show the whole fight, I'm just going to show kind of clips of this up until you get to the boss. So you have 4 different waves. These clips kind of show all of the different options for the character. So there's the main attack, the pew pew, and then there's the right button attack, which is more of a splash cone effect. Bosses have different phases. I'll show kind of the end of the first phase, and then you get the boss's big attacks. I'll also show the ultimate attack of your character here in just a second. The one thing I liked is I died. I died that time too. I died twice to the wave attacks there, and for the first boss, which I'll show at the end of the video, I also died. There's some cute CGI animations and scenes. You can tell that there's been some love put into the game. There's some storytelling. Now this is the first level that you go into. It's pretty straightforward, what you would expect of a shooter. Surprisingly, while I was playing, I really felt like I feel when I played Doom. There's just a lot going on the screen, not too much. There's some melee, there's some different weapon options, but it's not too overwhelming. This just shows some of the collectibles, the loot that you get. There's these plants, you shoot these lesions, and you get some of those flask points I was talking about. There isn't a ton of variety in monsters in the demo, but I would say there were some flying mobs, there's these big brutish looking mobs like this, and then some of the little underling mobs. It was a decent enough variety, but I think that would get played out if it didn't change a lot through the game. And I imagine they would add a lot more. And then you have these little interiors too, which is kind of nice. I would hope that they would have entire levels that were interiors, since it's a shooter. If they didn't, I think that would be a lot of potential that they weren't taking advantage of. Here's some of those flying mobs, floaters. When you get to the boss on these levels, you first have to cleanse all the lesions away, and then you'll see this dome sort of appear, like we saw earlier. And then once you go in the dome, you can kind of trigger the boss. The first, I don't know, 2 times I played the boss, I died. And again, this is just a very first level character because I restarted the game. But the levels are short enough that you can jump back in. You can level up your character, jump back in, and fight him again. I'm showing some of the major attacks that the boss has here. The game loop in the game is pretty satisfying. You can do these long distance, pew-pews and going behind a protective barrier, or you can do the melee stuff. You can jump up in the air and swipe down like I was showing earlier with those melee attacks, or mix and match. So I think there's a lot of variety in the combat. And then you also have the passive side where you're evolving your character and the skills, and I think that's cool how they kind of blend it all together. I imagine there's still about an hour of the demo that I haven't touched, but this is a game that at first I just ignored. I was like, oh, that's a creature collector. I've seen enough of those to know that I don't like it. But it's really more along the lines of something like Doom. I will let the rest of this Greater Festering Hives boss combat play out so you can see how it ends. And if you want to support my channel, the best thing you can do is just watch the video to the end. That's it. Comment if you like if you do. Thanks for watching.